Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and there are some players so far this season that have been disappointing, or a situation around that player has led me to question their future with their current team. Trades are always a big part of the NBA today, so I'm going to give you 4 players that I believe have a chance at getting traded this season. Before we start though, if you end up enjoying this video, make sure you subscribe, and I'm trying to hit 100 subs by the end of the year, so it'd be much appreciated if you do. With that out of the way, let's get started. So the first player that I think could potentially be traded this season is Russell Westbrook. So I think it's obvious that Westbrook will always be in trade rumors as long as he's on the Lakers, and it's for a good reason. He truly isn't the greatest fit for this team, and it has forced him to have to take a new role off the bench, which to be fair, he has been great at. However, the Lakers sit at 3-10, and I honestly don't see them making any strides towards a team that could make the finals, which should be their goal since LeBron is on the team. And the Lakers don't have many assets to trade, so we could see Westbrook being dealt, and I think it would be a good time to do it since his trade value is on the up since coming off the bench. The Pacers trade for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield could be a potential trade option, but one that I don't think many have thought about is a trade including the Utah Jazz. The Jazz have won a few too many games so far, so they could potentially part ways with players like Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson. There was also rumors in the offseason of the Hornets being interested in Westbrook, and they could give up players like Hayward or Kelly Oubre for Russell Westbrook. I'm not going to say what I think the Lakers will do because honestly, I'm not too sure, but if Westbrook does get traded to one of these teams, the players that the Lakers will get will most certainly fit a little bit better than Westbrook. However, I'm not sure how much it will truly move the needle for the Lakers towards championship contention. I guess we'll just have to wait it out and see if the Lakers will be willing to give up any of their remaining first round picks to improve the roster, because in my opinion, that's the only way that they can make dramatic changes to the roster is by trading those first round picks. The second player that I believe could be potentially on their way out is DeAndre Ayton. Ayton is in a very weird situation at the moment. The Suns are currently 8-4 and look ready to redeem themselves from a terrible exit in the playoffs last year, and with an aging CP3, I and many assumed Ayton would take a jump and have more of an impact this season for the Suns, but that just hasn't been the case. He's playing his lowest minutes per game in his career at about 26 a game, and even with Cam Johnson being out for the past 5 games, he is only playing 27 minutes a game. Also, 80% of his made shots are still coming from assists. I'm not sure why Ayton isn't being utilized more, but this could definitely lead to Ayton being upset with Monty Williams and even the front office, which is already a problem since the Suns didn't want to give Ayton the money he wanted in the offseason and were forced to match an offer from the Pacers. Because they matched that offer, the Suns won't be able to trade Ayton until after January 15th, and even then he still has a veto power on any trades. This limits where he could possibly go, and it's hard to predict where he may want to go since there isn't any clues. But if we assume that he wants to be on a winning team, or at least on a young and up and coming team where he can be used more, some teams that come to mind are the Indiana Pacers, Charlotte Hornets, and the Dallas Mavericks. I think these 3 teams Ayton would be cool joining, and they have the pieces that I think the Suns would consider. It may be a while until Ayton gets traded, but in my opinion, it seems inevitable that it will happen just based on what has transpired in the last 2 seasons or so. The third player that I think could potentially be traded this season is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie is one of the most talented guards in the league. However, his issues off the court for the past year or two have affected his ability to play so much that I think his trade value is at the lowest in his career. It seems that the more time goes on, the more the relationship between him and the Nets is distancing, so to me this is a reason why the Nets may trade him. Obviously he's a big piece to what the Nets do, but if he isn't going to play because of his off-court issues, then it would make sense to get something in return since after this season, Kyrie will be a free agent. Now, because his trade value is low, it makes it a bit easier to trade someone like Kyrie, but assuming he would want to play for a winning team, the Nets have to trade Kyrie to a winning situation he agrees on and that he will sign a new contract extension with. It should also be noted though that many teams are skeptical of Kyrie, and some saying they wouldn't even consider him despite his talent. Because of this, it is extra hard to try and figure out where he may go. The Lakers are the first team that comes to mind because of the history between LeBron and Kyrie. However, the Lakers would most likely have to give up Westbrook and a pick, and I'm not sure if the Nets will take that return. Some other teams that I think Kyrie would fit on despite them maybe not wanting to get him are the Heat and the Mavericks. The Heat would be especially interesting because they have a great defensive unit, which I think would be able to make up for Kyrie's lack of defense, and the Heat I believe need another scorer. But a scoring duo of Luka and Kyrie would be so much fun to watch, especially since Brunson and Luka in the playoffs was really fun. I think it would just be even better. It's hard to say if a Kyrie trade would actually happen, but with a crippling relationship between him and the Nets, I wouldn't be surprised if they are at least considering a trade, and if they're considering a trade for Kyrie, they might as well just consider a trade for Kevin Durant, because at that point, their championship hopes are pretty much gone. And lastly, the fourth player that I believe could potentially be traded this season is RJ Barrett. So far this season, Barrett is offering another lackluster season. He's averaging about 19 points per game, but is still highly inefficient, only having a 52% true shooting percentage. This has been the case the previous 2 seasons, and honestly at this point, I thought he would have improved at least a little bit in terms of his efficiency. In addition, he still isn't the greatest defender, consistency being the biggest problem in my opinion, and because of this, I truly believe the Knicks should consider to trade him. Now I understand Barrett is only 22 years old, and he could potentially improve, but when you just look at some of the other rising talent in the league that is similar in age, they have been able to figure it out and improve constantly every season. At this point, I don't think Barrett's ceiling will be too high, and the Knicks, I feel, have just been waiting for him to figure it out because his progression affects how good they will be. Again, because he's still young, he could still progress into a solid player, and because of this, his trade value will still be relatively high, I think. So I believe that if he were to be traded, it would be to a developing team who has the picks and assets to give up. Some teams that come to mind are the Charlotte Hornets, Detroit Pistons, Utah Jazz, and the San Antonio Spurs. Now most of these teams' assets would be picks, but they could potentially get some nice role players in return to put around Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, and that could fill in what RJ did plus more. I hate to give up on players this early, and I'm definitely not saying that I don't think Barrett can be at least a solid player, but because he hasn't made much improvement so far in his career, and the player he is currently isn't helping towards winning, I just don't know how good he can be anymore, which is why I think the Knicks should reconsider his future with the team. Well, those are my 4 players who I believe could be traded this season. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed, make sure you guys like and sub. I'm trying to hit 100 subs by the end of the year. If you want to see more content of mine, go to the Linktree link below in the description and follow my TikTok, Twitter, and my other podcast channel. You can also watch this video where I go over teams that I think are contenders and pretenders. See y'all in the next one. Peace out.